friends, and welcome to another episode of Your Bish Therapist podcast. And not just any episode. Today, we're doing something a little different, friends. This isn't a Darling Bish hour, but we do have our Darling Bish, Amy Phillips, on the show. Welcome, Amy.
Hello.
What?
It's not our hour. This is just some fun. I'm just any old guest. We're not doing our Darling Bish hour. We're just gonna have some fun. Well, we always have fun, but thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, of course. And not just any old guest. The fact that you're guesting on my show feels like some sort of LSD-induced fever dream or something.
Not at all. In fact, somebody said something to me the other day about you that was just the highest compliment of you. I mean, what this person said was that they have noticed how much that you have grown as a podcaster, not necessarily your content, because it's always been there. I was like, oh yeah, she's Instagrow. She's a Chia Pet, put it on, she's done, right? And this person said, I've just really noticed though how good she's gotten at what she's doing. And I don't know if you feel that way, but it is remarkable, to hear that, because I'm like, well, she was always like that, from the start. But apparently you've gotten even better. So I thought that was such a nice compliment.
Is so sweet. Thank you for sharing that with me, because I definitely have a lot of imposter syndrome where I just sometimes am like, I think I just suck all the time. But I appreciate that. And I actually agree, because I think what's happened is being a therapist and being a podcaster, they share a lot of the same skill set. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. I have to know how to talk to folks. I have to be good at transitions. I have to be good at time management, right? There's all these things. Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing.
So there's transferable skills, but here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Podcasting is like my voice is out there and just thousands of people are just judging it. And so I think what would happen is I would podcast and I would second guess. I wouldn't be myself, because I'd be so overly concerned about what are people going to say? What are the words coming out of my mouth? And recently, I just don't give a flying fuck, Amy.
That's what it is. There you go. That's the secret to life.
Just stop giving a fuck about what other people are going to say. I'm not kidding. Has freed me in ways that I'm just it helps me be my best self, whatever it is that I'm doing. And now that doesn't mean I'm still human, right? When people get so mad at me all the time, which is still confusing, it does sort of hurt my feelings. But at the same time, I'm just I can't focus on that. I'm not going to please everybody, right? It's just, and so, yeah, I felt like I've come into my own more.
There's a threshold that you've crossed, which is you couldn't have gotten there immediately until you've spent the time, the 10,000 hours, as they say. You get to get that under your belt to get to this point. So it's a rite of passage that I think most people experience when they're in this type of, line of work, be it a podcaster or a journalist or author.
Yeah, right.
It's great. Yeah. So congratulations. So
thank you, my friend.
I'm excited to be here for a little Bravo scoop, a little scoop of Bravo, indeed.
So today, that's a great segue, Amy, thank you, to what we're going to talk about. Amy and I are going to talk a little bit about Real Housewives of Potomac today, because the wonderful thing, we are going to be doing our Darling Bish Hour next week. And when we do our Darling Bish Hour, we are going to cover, wait for it, Karen Huger's interview with Andy Cohen.
Karen got out of the car and now she's back, and she's all over social media with these real glamour shots I'm back, and oh my, it's a little much for my taste, to be honest with you. Take it down, Karen. You're hot off of those cell doors closing behind you and opening up behind you and then shutting
and then closing.
Can you just relax from the glamour shots? It's crazy.
It doesn't bode well. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because it certainly doesn't bode well for what we may see. That's my guess, because when you have situations like that, it will either humble you or you'll go somewhere else with it. And I just hope she's not going somewhere else with it, because I'm happy to support Karen if she uses the proper language to let me know that she understands that she was literally a danger to public safety. She was a danger to herself and others. That's nothing to joke about. And so I'm just going to be like literally with my magnifying glass, watching everything she says. And for me, that's going to make a huge difference in terms of whether I support her or not. Because I don't know about you, Amy, but I just can't support crappy Bravo Labs. I just can't do it.
No, absolutely. Not when their behavior is destructive and in terms of like not necessarily to themselves, but to others. And that's where it gets to be a real problem. So when she's coming out of there and going like, you know, she's got a fresh dress on, you know, a gorgeous smile. And her tagline is almost something that's like, I'm back. No bars can hold me down. You know, I'm completely making that up. But that's the way it feels. Anyway, so I'm very interested. I can't wait until next week. The interview airs on Sunday night, you guys.
That's right. I love Potomac. It's actually one of my favorite franchises. But for some reason, I just feel like for my purposes, there's not always a lot of meat on the bone because it's like these ladies check each other. You know what I mean? It's like they do their job, they get in and they get out. And I don't know. It's just, it's more interesting and fun to watch than it is, you know, for me to talk about. But so while we're on the topic of Karen's drinking behaviors, the one thing before we get into Potomac that I definitely wanted to mention was Gigi Golnesa from, well, the Shahs of Sunset and now Valley Persian Style.
Yeah.
Which have you been watching that, Amy?
I have not seen one episode yet.
Do you know what? Here's the thing. Neither have I. I feel like there's too much TV on for me right now, and it's a smidge overwhelming, especially with like all my medical chaos that's going on. Like I just haven't had the brain space, but I saw this thing on social media and the therapist in me was like, we have to mention this immediately. So Gigi did an interview, a podcast interview, where she revealed that she spends $3,000 to $4,000 a month on marijuana.
Whoa.
Which comes out to be, Amy, it gets so much more insane. She uses an ounce of marijuana, which is 28 grams, which for people who don't know, like who are having trouble, like figuring out what does that look like, that's like a Ziploc bag, like a quart Ziploc bag full of weed.
A quart? Okay. She uses how many? 28 ounces?
20. So 1 ounce equals to 28 grams every 2 days. Yeah. Amy's face, for those of you who are just listening, Amy is gobsmacked because I think that's the other thing, like having that history of being a drug and alcohol counselor, when you're assessing someone's use, you have to know like all the, you know, all the measurements and like what that means and all of that.
And she's smoking it. Like she's smoking it. That's what's nuts. Yes. Too. It's not like, wow, weed.
Yes. It was clear that this is how much she's using and it is all smoking. She went on to say that weed for her is a psych med. And I was holding a pen and I literally threw it across the room. I was like so angry that she said that because I was like, okay, when people have a platform and they use it to justify their behavior and they say things like this, it makes me wild. And I just want to shout from the absolute rooftops.
Yeah. She believes that she's doing that though, right? I mean, she clearly, does she believe that? I mean, she's obviously justifying it in her head. She could easily, if she has a mental health condition or she's saying she's using it for something to help her, she could easily go to a therapist or a psychiatrist and get medicated accordingly and not have to rely on $3,000 to $4,000 worth of weed a month, right?
Yeah. Yes. A million times yes. But also, here's the thing. Okay. I'm not here to demonize weed. I think alcohol is actually one of the most dangerous drugs on the planet. And it's so socially acceptable. I'm not against marijuana. Whatever people choose to do, that's up to them. But here's what I can tell you that I know
love
for
having
sure.
Gummies, by the way. I am
sure.
No stranger to a THC gummy, and I will have one right after the show. I'm kidding. But no, I do enjoy a gummy here and there. I can't even imagine if I were to put that up to a bag of weed and just like compare it. I mean, my dosage is probably like the size of a hummingbird's, like, no, like, beep, that's that. I feel weird,
Amy,
Okay.
you'd be comatose. You would
I
literally.
wouldn't survive.
No.
No way.
No.
To think that that's what it is after building it up all these years. But okay.
Right.
So you're neither here nor there on it, but carry on.
But weed is not a psych med. And here's what I'm going to say. Okay. I have complex PTSD. I have major depressive disorder. I have chronic health conditions. I have pain every single day.
Speak on it.
Here's what I can tell you is that what she's saying is absurd. This is addiction, pure and simple. So let me be clear, is that people think that you cannot be addicted to marijuana. You can be. However, it does tend to be more of a psychological addiction.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Now, our bodies will, so with this level of marijuana, she will certainly have some sort of physiological dependence as well because it's so much. So when I was working in an inpatient rehab facility, we would have people come in for marijuana use and their detox would be, a lot less than folks who maybe were using alcohol or, methamphetamines or things like that, right? But you still can have a physiological and psychological dependence on it, number one. And number two, if you're using it for a psych med, you're self-medicating and you're missing something, right? Because the other thing I'll speak on is that I'm also on Lexapro and I've been on it for years. That's a psych med. Marijuana isn't the psych med. And so the other piece so I haven't seen one ep yet of Valley Persian style, but I was watching something and I saw there was a scene, she was talking to someone and she got so psychologically agitated that she had to get up, she had to walk out of the restaurant, she had to take like some deep breaths, she was kind of shaking. And that's what it looks like when weed is your psych med. I'm serious.
Yeah.
It's like we should be able to have tough emotions and be able to process them and work through them. And when what happens is she is literally creating a disassociation from her reality. And what I know for sure is living like that will create more psychological havoc, number one. And number two, it teaches her that she can't cope without marijuana, which is also just not true. She's undermining herself. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I just feel that people listening to that who were like, oh, well, they don't know what to think about that, or this is okay. It's not okay. That's a huge concern. I worry for her mental health long term, number one. And number two, putting hot smoke in our lungs with anything, whether it's cigarettes, marijuana, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So I hope I'm being clear that I'm not demonizing it, but she really tried to normalize this. And I was like, no, it is my civic duty to just let people know that this should not be normalized. This is absurd. And let me use another example. Like, let's say I loved oranges, right? I really needed to get vitamin C. If I told you that I was having 20 oranges a day, Amy, do you think that would be a healthy thing?
I really don't. You probably would never be sick again. But also, if you weren't, then maybe it would be like the new greatest, discovery that if you eat 20 oranges a day, you're never sick. Yeah. And it makes me wonder, with her putting all this out there, is this a subconscious cry for help? And you're not the only one. We're not the only ones that are going to read this and think this is absolutely out of this world. So who's going to say something? Who's going to do something? Is anyone going to say anything to her? Is anybody going to do anything? I don't know how, I don't know. I just feel like maybe on some level, she's looking for a cry for help. Is that possible?
It's definitely possible. I mean, it's like the housewives that come on just to try to get out of crappy marriages. We've seen time and time again. Taylor Armstrong, now Bronwyn, is kind of the newest one.
I wonder if she's going to be talking about this on the show. So if she's going to be, because if there was a podcast about this or an article or whatever that just came out about this specifics, that makes me think that is they usually take stuff that's going on in the show and then they have them promote something that's like a hot button issue, which will get more people to watch the show and or show everybody what's going on in her life through this season. So I wonder if this is something that they will be talking about on the show and dealing with.
It's funny that you say that, because just the little bit that I've seen of it, she talks about her marijuana use a lot. Like, she's not hiding anything, which I do respect that. I do respect like authenticity and openness about, what she's doing. So it's like, I appreciate that. But I think my impression is that it's not so much a cry for help. It's more of like, she thinks it's a flex. But it really isn't. Because the other thing is like, do we know how old her child is?
I would only be guessing that he'd be maybe 4.
Yeah, like I want to say like 5, 4, between like the ages of 4 to 6 or something.
Yeah.
And listen, I want to be clear. I'm not, people can be great parents and use marijuana. That's facts, right? But when you're using this level of anything, it does make me concerned about that piece of it. Like,
yeah.
That doesn't seem like a safe environment for her or her child.
Right.
To be that impaired all of the time.
Yeah. And showing your child how dependent you are on it, because you're probably, you can't hide that from somebody when you're having to do it that often. So what is that showing your child if it's in plain sight, and if she's living her life out loud and she's justifying that in front of her child or to whomever, this is going to set a pretty bad example.
Again, I want to be clear that parents who are listening to this who use marijuana, that is not what I'm talking about.
Well, I know you aren't, and I'm one of them.
Right. Parents
can do it responsibly,
casually,
just like they do anything,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And using anything responsibly, because everything's a drug, right? Tylenol, ibuprofen, coffee, it's all drugs. We all use drugs every day. Yeah. All of us do.
Gosh, I miss the days of regular Coca-Cola Classic laced with cocaine. How I would have gotten so much more done.
I know. Could you imagine back in the day?
I know. Oh my God.
It's so funny. So, I just feel like for folks listening to this is that everything in moderation, number one, and number two, it's not so much how much of what it is you're using, it's why you're using it. So if we're using something to detach from reality, well, sometimes maybe we all need that, but then you have to come back to it, because what'll happen is that can create more mental health problems, disconnections from reality, disconnection from self and others. And so I do just worry about that. I think Gigi is funny. I think she's a lovely person. I just wish that she would maybe look at why am I using so much, and then maybe talk to somebody about that. Because even using marijuana, you have to be mindful about, like, why am I using this? What am I using it for, right? Mm-hmm. Consistently over time.
My guess or my prediction is that this first season of the Valley Persian style is going to showcase, her habits of doing this and her lifestyle, because it can't be hidden. And she's been very open about it in the past for the most part, like, knives and weed, are her thing. I think that it's very possible that it's gotten to the point where it's so much and so bad that her friends, maybe Reza or whomever, MJ, will have a sit down with her. And it's very possible that she, at some point, either on the series or next season, because it's got to be on camera,
right,
will maybe go to rehab for it. And that's my guess, that she will get treatment.
I
hope.
love that. It's my hope too, because this cannot be sustained. It just can't be financially, physically, physiologically. At some point, she's going to have some lung issues. You still can get cancer from just inhaling hot anything. Mm-hmm. That includes vaping, and you can have all sorts of things. And her child needs her. So I'll be interested to see. And nothing will get me to watch this show quicker than if that were to happen. I'll be tuned in, honey. I think the last thing I'll say before I move on to Potomac is that I think society we as humans, we tend to overcorrect. And I think that this generation of kids, by all intents and purposes, they're not drinkers. They like THC, which fine. But I think people look societally and they say, oh, well, weed is like totally fine. There's no negative side effects or anything like that. And it's like, that's not completely. Alcohol creates inflammation. I mean, alcohol's the only drug that detoxing from it, if you don't do it properly, it can and will kill you. That's wild, right?
Wow.
Like
wow.
methamphetamine, marijuana, opiates, all of that stuff, you're going to feel like you're going to die, but alcohol's the only thing that detoxing, you can die if you don't do that properly.
Really? Like, you mean,
yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
Oh my God. I had never heard that. So if you're trying to quit alcohol and you're just basically going, if you were to go cold turkey after being such a severe drinker, then that can affect your body and your heart that you could actually die?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Delirium tremors, they're called DTs. People can, like, absolutely, if you have been using alcohol consistently for a long time, you need medications, you need a program to help decrease that. Otherwise, your body can really, can have delirium tremors, and then all these other things start to happen and you can die. And alcohol is the only other thing, too, that it can create Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. It's like, there's a fancy name for it, but it's known as wet brain, which is like your brain literally gets pickled from alcohol.
Wow.
And I've seen all of these things in inpatient rehab. And when you see this sort of stuff, you tend to look at substances a lot different.
Wow.
So that's just where I come from. But I think societally, we can't overcorrect so far that we look at this and say, oh, well, this is normal. That's not normal. It shouldn't be normal. It's not healthy. It's not appropriate. So those are my 2 cents.
I'm so glad you brought it to my attention. I didn't even see that. So it's good to know.
There you go. Now you can mention it all, Amy. But let's talk about Potomac. Amy, what have you thought about this Colorado trip from Holy Hell?
God, I kept thinking, is this worse than the Real Housewives of New York Cartagena trip when they were on that boat ride from hell and they almost died? I thought, this might be worse. It might be worse. Then I said, no, it's not worse. I feel so bad for Angel. I can't even be mad at her anymore. That's how bad I feel for her. Like, I am so past, like, you have made a complete disaster out of this trip. I can't tell what you're telling the truth about. There's such a facade over everything. You are confusing me about Potomac, about everything is strange and odd. And here's where you're going to stay. Is this your house? Well, no. Are we going to go there? Well, like, everything is just weird.
Yes.
And yet I feel awful and I want to hug her and hold her because this is a disaster. And everybody in the world, because everybody watches this, will see this and it's just humiliating. And you're stuck in a car. Thank God those 2 gals are being very kind because they were being so nice and gracious because they realized how bad she must have felt. And then when the other 2 cars were at the gas station and they're like, Gisele's like, this is the end of the trip. Like, the fact that Angel even had it in her, it's like her dying breath. I'm like, is this your swan song? They're actually going to say, the excursion is waiting for you. You can still go. I'm like, you don't know when to stop, do you? You are in the middle of nowhere. You don't know where you are. You don't even know if this excursion exists. And you're trying to tell these people, trying to still make yourself look good. You need to wave the white flag and just call it. It was
just
awful.
Give it up. Yeah. And, here's, as someone who is certified type A, and I also have an anxiety disorder, when I was seeing that countdown clock to the time that the flight, Amy, my insides, I was panicked. And I had to be like, Melissa, this isn't you.
Yeah. You're not there. We're not there. That is not our map. Don't try to pick what car you're in because we're not in a car. To see Angel going past it and the car is like this little wiggly car, like going up and then off of the road straight north. That map had me in a twisted piece of pretzel inside. Like, that was nuts.
My anxiety was 100, thinking, are these ladies? It feels to me, it felt like an anxiety dream where when you're in a dream and you're trying to get somewhere or do something, but it's just like you're on this hamster wheel and you don't know what's getting in your way. It felt like a real life version of an actual anxiety dream that I've had. Truly.
Right. And reminder, just a PSA, don't ever drop a pin for anybody. Like, let's just stick with like the actual address. And if there isn't one, then don't go. How about that?
Here's the funny thing. I related so much to the whole GPS debacle because here's the thing. You live in a beautiful area. You're, Santa Clarita.
Have you guys heard of it?
Santa Clarita.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful area. And
Gorgeous.
You're adjacent, very close to LA, right? You live in the land of the living. I live in the land of trees and animals, okay? So I have been in a situation where I put in the address and my GPS is like, I don't know what to tell you, bitch. We're in the woods. I don't know what to tell you, okay?
There's no signal. Yeah, and it'll take you somewhere different. Yeah.
Yes. That has really happened. So for the people being like, how could this happen? When you're in a rural area, like on country roads, sometimes you cannot count on that. But what is so wild to me is that this is your business and you made the decision. It's just like Angel, I feel like she can't get out of her own way.
Yeah, no. And she had it coming because this isn't her business, Melissa. The business doesn't actually exist. It hasn't even launched yet. That's like what we realized. Yes, like launching in 2026. It's not.
No.
Yes. It's putting the cart way before. That's why it's so hard to follow, because it's like, I think they had this great idea. They would get on this show and they would start this business in tandem with being on this show, and it would all work out. But instead of being more transparent that you want to start a business, she
was acting like she already had it.
Yeah. When these things are like, I mean, she may have brought a few people out there to and organized excursions for people at one or two times, but it's not a business that actually exists.
Okay, so now I understand how this happened. Okay,
she told us that. She told us that, though. That's what we were under the impression of. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for. Isn't it like, it's such a good reminder that when we see things on reality TV, there's pieces missing, and then it makes so much sense because it's like, why did you choose a spot that you'd never been to? You don't know where it is, right? If I'm going to try to flex in front of people, I'm going to make sure I know where this place is. It's easily accessible. Yeah. It's close to the airport. Like, I'm going to do my homework on that.
Right.
As a good type A little girl. But I feel there's something about Angel that makes me feel triggered. I feel that Angel is really has a hard time with the truth. And I get really triggered by people who just pathologically lie or lie over and over and over. Like, I'm not going to call her a pathological liar, but I am going to say she can't keep her story straight. She really has trouble being honest. She certainly has trouble being authentic. I can understand maybe some reasons for that. But at the end of the day, it's like she doesn't understand how she's getting in her own way, number one. And number two, I feel there's a simmering rage with Angel under the surface.
Wow.
That I feel like my nervous system can identify. You don't always see it in, for example, when Tia and Kay were being so sweet, they were being such good friends to her, and she was crying, it felt to me that there was something else going on, like more of a rage, but she was really trying to be controlled in how she expressed that. I'm not saying that I'm right, but I'm saying that that's how I feel.
Do you think Monique is right, though? Like, because Monique is basically saying, your lived experience was my lived experience. She's putting, she's projecting her stuff from Chris Samuels onto her and saying that Bobby is the same. So do you think that is either her story or a part of it?
It's so funny that you ask that, because Lindsay and Brady and I kind of touched on this, is that I feel this is a classic case of two things can be true. I feel that Monique is projecting her experience with Chris Samuels on to Angel and Bobby. And I also think that she's on to something. I do.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
So, and listen, all humans, myself included, we project our stuff onto other people. That's just kind of like, and by the way, that's one reason when at the top of the hour, when we talked about when people don't like me, they're projecting their stuff onto me. They are. I'm a blank slate for every single person listening to this podcast right now. I say one thing and their lived experience, they project that onto me. And people are either like, she's the smartest person I ever met, which I'm not, or she's a dumb bitch and I hate her. Also not true. And so it's all about like, that's what has helped me feel more confident in the space is that people are just projecting. It really doesn't have a lot to do with me.
No, that's great. I love that, Melissa.
Well, also, this is just a tip for you, Amy, and everyone listening to this is when you encounter awful people in the wild, it's not about you. It's about their own stuff.
Yeah.
So I share it because I hope that this helps people feel less reactive, when other people are just projecting.
And in layman's, well, not even layman's terms, because these aren't my words. I read this book called, I think it's is it the 7 Pillars? I don't even know. Like, here's a book that I'm quoting and I don't even know what it's called.
I love that for you, Amy.
It's like the 5. I don't know what number it is.
The 4 agreements.
Thank you.
4 agreements. Yeah, I knew.
Yes, that's it.
When you said 7 Pillars, I was like, I got you, Amy. I know what you're reading. Honey,
I almost went down to 4 and I'm like, that's going to make me look so stupid.
No, it's
so
the
I went
4
down
agreements.
To 5. Okay, and one of them is don't take it personal. Don't take it personally. And I think that's saying that's what you're saying, right?
Literally, yes. And it's so funny you bring up the 4 agreements because I've read that before. I believe sometimes the universe sends us like messages or, learning lessons. And this is now the 4th time that I've heard that the 4 agreements have come to me, which probably means that I need to reread it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I think it's a really good book about how to live our best life without being triggered or taking things personally, how to live in alignment. I mean, it's just, it's really great.
It is.
So
I think you reread it and I don't need it. I'm perfect.
You are perfect.
And then when you're done, let's work on a book called The 7 Pillars.
We'll write it, you and me, the 7 Pillars.
Rewrite what don't take it personally means. We'll say something like, that ain't me. We'll do something like that. And there'll be 6 more pillars. So we'll get started on that.
All right, we're going to get started on that. So TBD on the 7 Pillars written by Amy Phillips and myself. So but I think that what I was explaining is that Monique, when your nervous system has encountered trauma or abuse, sometimes it recognizes things that maybe our brains can't explain. And that is how I feel with Angel and Bobby. My nervous system is like, listen, I don't know what's going on here, but something's up and something feels weird and it feels off. I feel there is a controlling piece. There is a piece of, well, let's just not plan or prepare and we're going to act like we know everything and we have everything under control. Like there's a hubris to them that I don't like or appreciate. Because part of being human just means like we don't know everything. Shit happens. We can't. But Angel and Bobby, it's like, well, we're rich, but we don't own any of these houses. Well, we are doing this business, but really we have no idea what we're doing and we actually haven't started it yet. Like there's what they say and then there's the story behind it. And that's what I recognize as problematic.
And it is problematic. And I'm wondering if that title card at the very end, when they were wrapping up the season on last night's episode, Sunday night's episode, which is that basically word on the street is that they bought a $2 million house in Potomac. And I don't believe
that for 1 second.
Absolutely not.
Jinx. Yeah, I don't believe it either. That's the problem. When you lie a lot, your word can't be trusted. And that's the other thing from the 4 agreements is be impeccable with your word.
Ooh,
how about that?
Wow.
Be impeccable with your word because our word is all we have. That is our character. That's it. And Angel is not impeccable with her word. And it drives me nuts.
And you know who else isn't impeccable with their word? Stacy, who I love, but Stacy doesn't seem to be very impeccable either. I mean,
exactly.
So that's tough because she's definitely more likable. And I feel like you can't, I'm not going to compare the 2 ladies because I think they're very different, but she seems to be kind of a deer in the headlights at points, and yet is standing by something that she's just lying about.
So when they were in the cars, they were all like in different cars trying to find this like camping site or whatever the heck it was for the excursion. Jassy was confronting Stacy. What it looked like to me was she was trying in her head to think of excuses and lies and things to say. And she wasn't like completely listening to Jessie. That is what I saw. And I feel like Stacy, talk about inauthentic. Like she is just like a cyborg, UVC selling newscaster, just like meet more. I don't respect that at all. I just don't.
I like the personality. I like how she is. I find her really fun to watch, and I really like her on the show.
Yeah, she can be really funny and hilarious and smart and have a good time. But in these moments where the ladies are trying to just get truth out of her, she goes into this mode of like damage control. And it's like, I wonder what happened to her in her upbringing that she feels the need to do that. Because I feel like, childhood stuff, we all have stuff there that it creates us to be who we are and why we do the things we do. And I want to know more about Stacy. Like, what is this for you that you feel like you need to hire a fake boyfriend and all this other stuff? That is what I'd be really curious about to know from Stacy.
Great question. Yeah, really good question.
Okay, so and here's my other question is that we see Wendy and Stacy, they go at it and then they make up and then they go at it again and then they make up. But like, did they get to the airport? Did they make their flight? That's what I want to know. Was everyone okay?
Yeah. Yeah, great point. We didn't even get to see them
get any of that.
I bet you I wonder if they even made that flight.
And were they flying private back or commercial?
So.
No. Okay.
No
All
way.
Right.
No way.
Who knows? I'm just like, what is this trip and why we got this like insane anxiety countdown and now we don't know. Are Angel and Tia and Kay, are they still lost in Colorado?
Yeah,
did they make
question.
It out?
And that Denver airport is so big.
It's so huge.
Right? It's nuts how big that airport is.
Oh my gosh, Amy, that's wild.
I hope they have clear because, my God.
I can't imagine that they do. Or I can't imagine that Angel does. But maybe Giselle was probably like, listen, I am accustomed to a certain way of life. And it's like, what was your take on Giselle? Because like at first, I was like going back and forth between she's doing a little too much, but at the same time, it's like, I get why, because someone needed to take this trip by the horns and be like, what are we doing here? I don't know. What was your take on that?
I felt her rage. I think it was deserved to be that angry. And then what ends up happening with Giselle, usually it happens a lot where she does cross it too far and then she becomes just mean.
Yeah.
Horrifically mean. And that's really hard to watch. So, but at the end of the day, her taking everybody to the Four Seasons and the plan to go to brunch there. Can you imagine? I mean, this really proved her point more than anything. So she should actually be laughing all the way through the season, because she got the confirmation that she knew it was a disaster. It became to be insane. So she's right. And she'll never be able to, Angel can never walk it back.
No, but I think that is the thing about Giselle that does bug me is because she's too good for this, but sometimes she can be mean girl-esque. And I don't like that because I think Giselle really is a good person. She has a good heart, but she can, when she feels like she's right, she can definitely do a little bit too much. And it's like, listen, be a human. Angel is clearly in the weeds. She's clearly embarrassed. You don't have to be mean because she's doing it to herself. And she was kind of made a fool of on national television. So maybe just like walk it back a scooch.
Yeah. Yeah. Like her saying when Angel's like, I just want to apologize for your comment. Too late. Too late. Too late. I was like, yeah, it is too late. It's like, what are you doing? Making a speech on the jet. I'm sure that you decided to do that while everybody was comfortable and they were impressed with your jet so that it would land a little softer. But it's not. It's still too late. What you did and what, so I like that she was like, too late, too late, too late. But that's because she's just still mad. She would have maybe gotten somewhere if Angel could have just handled it a little bit differently. And so Giselle, you know how you said, like, you wonder about, people's parents and how they were raised and things like that. Like you're wondering about Stacey. This episode made me wonder more about Giselle and why that. Because like her relationship with her mom, she has anger. Giselle has a lot of anger. And you can see that when she crosses over to a place where she can't come back on, and she is a dog with a bone. And we've seen it so many times. And the punishment, the crime doesn't fit the punishment in some of the cases.
Right.
And it makes me wonder, like, where does her anger come from? Her dad seemed amazing. And it seemed like she had a really great relationship with him. We did hear like a little bit in this episode about her mom, and they, it's just, she talks to her maybe once a week, and it's more about like getting things in order, about a will. Oh, and by the way, did you see the title card at the end?
I was waiting for you to bring that up, and I thought, oh, that's why Giselle is so upset, because can you share what the title card said?
Yeah, it said that the I think a 2-year-long battle of her father's will, she lost that battle to the wife, to the current wife. And that was a very, what seems like a scam. It seemed like to me that her...
Of course.
Right. That her stepmother did something. And I can't believe she wasn't able to get this straightened out in the court system. And that's really sad.
It is. And so I think my answer to that question is what we're seeing right now is Giselle experiencing some complicated grief, because when a parent dies or when someone really important to us dies, and then there's like the stuff with the will and legal issues, it prevents like the grieving process from taking place as it needs to, because you're focusing on all of these other things. And so what my guess would be is that Giselle is experiencing some complicated grief. I think she's feeling out of control because of what happened after her dad died and this legal battle. And sometimes when we feel out of control, we can try to control things that aren't ours to control. And so I maybe am seeing a little bit of that on this trip. I'm not, that would be my clinician's mindset, like what I see. Now, at the time of recording, I don't think we didn't have the verdict about the court thing. But at the same time, when you're going through court stuff, she maybe could have had an idea that it wasn't going her way. 2 years is too long of time to be dealing with this. I can't imagine how much money she spent. Her dad built this legacy, and now it goes to this woman who it sounds like, so I think that Giselle is someone who doesn't like to acknowledge emotions, and she doesn't talk about things. So I think her stuff comes out sideways.
Yeah, she does. I mean, we've not seen her cry. I mean, maybe a little bit here and there. I don't know. I can't think of one time, but she rarely ever shows us that side of her. Not that
she's not an emoter.
She doesn't have to, but
she doesn't. But at the same time, it's like, I wish some of these ladies would understand that vulnerability, I believe, is our greatest strength. It's what humans appreciate the most. It's what Bravo fans are looking for. And listen, that might be a generational thing too, right? People of, I'm in my mid 40s, and, older generations, there's different thoughts about feelings and talking about that. Like in the 80s, when I was growing up, it was like, you just like were traumatized and said nothing about it and just went to school and went about your day. That was how it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now there's a different, which I'm so grateful younger people are doing this different, but I wish they would get the memo that the vulnerability can be our greatest strength. And when we are vulnerable, it allows us to get support in ways that we're surprised by. She might be surprised by how fans support her. So I'll be interested to see at the reunion, what's talked about. And obviously Karen will be there and all of that. But I think the name of this episode should just be like Projection 101.
Right, Projection 101. Karen won't be at the reunion, right? She's not going to be at the reunion. She's just going to have an interview with Andy. Isn't that correct?
I thought she was at the reunion, and she got first seat at the reunion. That's what I saw. Yeah, Amy's face, God. She's like gobsmacked. Yeah, what I saw online is that Karen attends the reunion and she gets first seat. Yeah. Amy's processing.
I'm sorry.
Processing.
I did not know this was happening.
Well,
and
that's what I saw
That seems pretty
online.
stupid. She wasn't even in the whole season.
That also, yes, that's my point. That's my point about like, can't, Karen wants to come out and be put back on this grand dame pedestal. And it's like, hold on, chickie.
Slow your roll,
wait
babe.
a minute. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to have a lot to talk about basically next week when we watch Karen's interview. And then like, we're going to get, her at the reunion. And so I just can't wait to talk about all of that. Before we end, I just wanted to talk about really quick on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Amanda, because I feel like Amanda is one of those newbies that I haven't seen so much agreement across the Bravoverse in a long time about disliking someone. Like, so people are not feeling Amanda. I'm not feeling Amanda. How are you feeling about Amanda on Beverly Hills?
Love it so much right now. Believe me, I'm sure that I will tire of it, but I am so entertained by this gal who is next level delusional. And she is making, I didn't think it was possible to make the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills seem like grounded people. And this past episode, she made them look like you and me. You and me. From the coffee order to the talking business in the car to the one-upping to the, when was the last time you cried? Everything that she does is so nauseating that it is making me enjoy the rest of the housewives, if that makes any sense. And
that makes total sense, Amy.
I'm also really fascinated with her manifestation thing. I think that, aside from like, breaking it down and I don't need to do that, but it's obviously worked for her. What she's done, it has worked. Whatever she's put out there, it has worked for her. She is rich. She has her man. She has her family. She's got everything that she wanted to manifest. She has a business. She's now on the Real Housewives. No one can tell me that she didn't do that or she didn't manifest that. Okay. Those are just facts. Everything that she said she wanted, she got it. Okay. And so that part to me, I can't even argue with because I'm like, that's clearly, she's really walking the walk.
Sure. Yeah.
And as far as the money situation, I think that people may be right that the House of Cards will fall. And I'm wondering if there's a level of scam to it. I don't know, because those are some things that people are questioning. I hope that she wouldn't be that silly with her money because she's the money vibe, whatever she's
the
called.
Money queen or something. I'm like, okay. Okay. All right. Well,
so yeah, I'm just fascinated by the whole thing and I'm really here to watch this journey.
Love though what you said about her making the other housewives look grounded is hilarious and it's so accurate. It's so accurate. Like, my thing with Amanda is that I completely believe in, manifestation and vision boards and that whole thing. But what throws me is that she went from being a licensed therapist and she was like, no, you know what? Yeah, she had the same credentials that I have. She had I don't know if she had a master's degree, I would assume, but she had whatever, like, in California, whatever the regulations are, but she was like a licensed professional counselor, which is what I am.
I didn't know that.
And so when someone gives that up to do something that has less rules and less boundaries, and the one thing she said that just stuck in my brain like a little psychological bomb was that she goes, I liked being able to have closer relationships with my clients. Okay, why is that a red flag? Why do you need that? So when you're having like an appropriate relationship as a therapist, right, with clients, what it reads to me is that she wanted more freedom and flexibility to make a lot of money in ways that didn't align with the rules and regulations of being a licensed therapist.
That totally makes sense. Wow.
And that is a huge red flag to me. And, she said in this episode, she loves woo-woo stuff. And that was another red flag to me because there are people, helpers, quote unquote, healers, quote unquote, that will go into these kind of woo-woo, woo-saw spaces because they can manipulate. And so for me, I just feel like she is just a walking red flag. And now here's the thing. So trigger warning, we're going to briefly talk about Amanda's story, which includes child loss. I appreciated that Amanda shared her story and I felt for her and I have a ton of empathy for her. And I think this is a case of two things can be true. So Amanda told the ladies about the loss. She was pregnant with twins. Her one twin died shortly after birth due to a problematic placenta. And so her twin son now that survived, I think he's 3 or 4, maybe 3. So this happened like 3 or 4 years ago. And what I appreciated was her sharing her vulnerability, but I can't help but feel like she also weaponized it, which is something that humans do it all the time, to be honest. They take things and they weaponize it so that they can get something from people. And I feel like at the end, with Dorit, I do feel like she weaponized something really vulnerable and it just rubbed me the wrong way, to be honest.
Wow. Well, with Dorit kind of throwing the first stone, do you give...
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, obviously. Do you give Amanda any leash with that? Because for me, I was immediately like, she came back to the table and then Dorit decided to confront her. And she said, you know what? I'm not in a very good space right now. Right. Can we talk about this another time? And she told her what she needed respectfully. And Dorit continued on. And I thought, I was actually so astounded at her behavior that I lost sight of, because you're a therapist, so you're looking at every side. So I didn't see that, with Amanda because I just was so stuck on Dorit crossing those boundaries.
Going back to what you said about Dorit, I couldn't agree more that Dorit was so out of line, where it's like Dorit can be like a dog with a bone when she feels like she's wronged. But when Amanda says, this is what's happening and this is what I need, I was in support of Amanda at that moment for sure. And then Dorit kept going. And I was like, I would have walked away too. I don't blame Amanda for how she reacted. And I actually think that was an appropriate boundary. Dorit just wounded you by talking about this issue that you were clearly, really clear about. Just give me a moment. And then Dorit tries to kind of wipe her tear. And it's like, you're not reading the room right, Dorit. You just offended this woman. You just wounded her, and now you're putting your hands on her in a way that's very vulnerable. And I actually think Amanda saying, please don't touch me, I think all of that was completely appropriate. I just think, when she's saying at the end, it's like, well, I'm telling you this and you're not giving me a break. For me, that's where I have a hard time, right? Because so for me, and this is not apples and oranges, but I have a chronic incurable cancer. Imagine if every time things didn't, were hard, I said, well, I have cancer, give me a break. I guess it's like it serves to kind of keep people at arm's distance when maybe there is something that you need to speak about or be held accountable for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think this was another case of two things can be true. Amanda, I think, handled it really well. I think she had every right to draw those boundaries. Dorit was 1,000% wrong. And I think she also weaponized it a little bit.
When she was at the door, I think engaging in a conversation about what Dorit had done was where I understand what you're saying a little more clearly. Just go instead of now saying it, because at that point, it's like no words need to be spoken at this point. This is beyond the devastation of that and the grief of that is just beyond any words to anybody at that point. So just leave then. Leave and please, so that I could see why it's almost like she was standing her ground, I'm going to hand your ass to you again right now and make you feel like...
And make
even
you feel
though
bad.
Dorit deserved it. Yeah.
She did. Yeah, it's just something that I know, and maybe that's because of what I deal with on a day-to-day basis. Every time someone upset me, I'd be like, well, I have cancer. How dare you? It's like, but we have to be mindful about the ways that we're utilizing those things. But here's the thing. This episode, it was the first time I actually appreciated Amanda. I appreciated her vulnerability, her honesty, her talking about this, as a first season housewife, especially on a franchise where they don't talk about a lot of things. So I definitely give Amanda a lot of credit. I think Dorit needs to learn how to read the room. And, I guess we'll see how the rest of the season goes. A lot of people aren't loving Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I am happy with it only because I love Rachel Zoe, and I'm really excited to see Rachel.
Yes.
And then, it's not the most exciting season. There's
no.
That doesn't even, that's obvious. But I love Rachel Zoe, and then I love seeing these ladies react to Amanda.
Yeah.
I am interested also in the Dorit story, like how this is going to all pan out for her. It's a pretty fascinating thing to hear her talk about PK and then Kyle talking about PK in a different way and not knowing if Kyle, are you really trying to protect Dorit by trying to say, please, just trying to shut her down in these situations where she's talking about PK on TV? Or are you being insensitive by not believing Dorit about this guy who clearly is not on the up and up and has not done the right thing with regard to Dorit? I mean, what is her truth in that? So,
yeah. Well, TBD. I agree. It hasn't been a great season, but for my purposes, like I could just write a million notes and focus on Sutton completely, like her psychological, her whole thing where she's just like, so she realized that she was picking on Dorit last season and that didn't make her look good. But now she's doing the same thing to Jennifer Tilly and to Kyle a little bit that she's doing to Dorit. And so I guess it's just a message that we all have blind spots as humans. And sometimes when we realize things, we still need some professional assistance to connect all those dots so that we can really work on like all of our behaviors. Because I think Sutton's trying, but she's still so wounded and there's definitely some stuff there for her. So for me, for my purposes, I am loving watching it every week because I feel like it's like I could write a dissertation on Sutton, but it certainly hasn't been the most interesting season.
What do you think happened between Sutton and Avi and Sutton and Garcelle?
Okay. I believe that what Jennifer Tilly said is accurate in that Sutton doesn't know how to repair conflict. She has no idea how to do that. In fairness, she wasn't taught that by her parents, and she was probably taught the opposite. And so I think what happens is Sutton gets hurt feelings. And because her feelings are hurt, she lashes out at the person that she loves, which over time is going to wear you down. Because I think that Garcelle got tired of being either A, abandoned by Sutton, or B, invalidated by Sutton, and then C, a whipping post from Sutton. I think all of those things. I think Jennifer Tilly was spot on with Sutton gets upset, she lashes out. And I almost think Sutton too, it's like a little test. She'll test people to see, well, how much do you love me? If I lash out, will you leave or will you stay?
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I think that Sutton definitely has some unresolved like relational trauma. She doesn't know how to repair conflict. And with Avi, I think what happened is that they had some sort of an argument or disagreement. They agreed to go their separate ways temporarily. And then something happened while they weren't talking that Sutton took personally. And then she was like, you're dead to me. That's what I think happened. But who knows? And we'll definitely get some more information to the story. Sutton is a part of her own problem in all of her relationship problems that she has. She just is.
Yeah.
So I hope that she's able to look at that because guess what? Sutton is none of these ladies are bad people. They all deserve to be happy. And I hope that she can just get out of her own damn way.
Yeah.
So Amy, this has been quite an episode.
What a romp we've been on. I feel like we left Denver, we went on down that country road into the woods, circled around that non-camp, and then are heading back. And now we're pulling into the Denver airport. We made it. Yeah.
Oh, my
just in time
anxiety.
for our
Good. I
flight.
can sleep tonight. We just made it. Oh,
We'll sleep on the plane.
Right. Exactly. But thank you, Amy, so much for being here. And I cannot wait to watch Karen's interview and do our Darling Bish Hour next week.
Me too. I'm excited to do that. And I love just being able to podcast with you. It's so cool. Thanks for having me.
It's so fun. No, thank you. But really quickly, I mean, let people know where they can find you and, what you got going on this week.
Well, I've got some podcasts happening over on Drama Darling that you can find that anywhere you get your podcasts. Got Potomac. Actually, I'll be putting that up tomorrow. Today, I'm going to be putting up Traders. We just recapped last episode 6.
Nice.
And I have Salt Lake City coming up this week, and Beverly Hills, and Southern Charm, and Below Deck.
Oh my gosh, Amy, you're just doing it all. You are just doing it all.
And if you don't see them on the public, go over to patreon.com/dramadarling because you'll get all the bonus episodes over there that you don't see on the public. And thanks, Melissa.
Yes, you're so welcome. Amy's Patreon is amazing. Check that out. My Patreon is also amazing. Please check that out. Your Bish Therapist. Check me out on Instagram at Your Bish Therapist. Give me a follow, a like, a comment. Some sort of engagement would be beautiful, please. And of course, if you could leave a 5-star review for myself and Amy, we would be forever.
We'd love it.
We're grateful. That's right. So thank you, Amy, so much for being here. For everybody today, sending love to you and yours. Ta-ta for now.
Bye.
Disclaimer. Posts are not intended to diagnose, treat, or provide medical advice. Your Bish Therapist is for entertainment and informational purposes only. The podcast, my opinions, and posts are my own and not associated with past or present employers, any organizations, Bravo TV, Greyheart Productions, or any other television network. The information in YBT podcast and on its social media is provided for general informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat. Please do not act or refrain from acting based on anything you read, see, or hear on YBT podcast or associated social media. Communicating with YBT via email and or social media does not form a therapeutic alliance. Melissa, operator of YBT, is unable to provide any therapeutic advice, treatment, or feedback.